Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Anime Brain Freeze. We are your hard-hitting hosts.
I am John.
And I'm CC, and this is the show where we review all the anime series from the previous season we did and didn't watch start to finish. On this episode, John is gonna bring some music to your lives by talking about Sound Euphonium, and then we're gonna discuss the TNA... No, I'm not talking about the wrestling organization, fighting anime Keijo. So, yeah, let's raise the curtain, get the show rolling, and head right into the first review.
Right, so before we dive into one show, we're going to tune up a little bit with another. No one?
That was a fine effort.
You tried. So
B plus?
Yeah. So the first show is Sound Euphonium. It's a show that was very, very near and dear to my heart, and I will go into why. So, story is as such. It follows this girl, Kumiko Omae. She's a former band kid. Mm-hmm. After, her middle school band couldn't quite make the cut in this one competition, she decides to put away her euphonium and, to put her band kid self in the past. As it would happen, however, going into high school, everyone who surrounds her basically has an interest in music. So she basically gets caught up in the flow and ends up joining the band once again. She tries to switch instruments, but that doesn't go quite how she wants, so she ends up falling back on the euphonium. She's joined by a bunch of new friends that she makes, a tubist Hazuki, a contrabassist Sapphire, who's like, her instrument is comically larger in comparison to how tall she is.
That brings some problems with it, I assume.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Less problems in terms of that than you might think. There's her fellow euphonist, Asuka, who's also the vice president of the band club. Her childhood friend, uh-huh. And trombonist Shuichi, and a bandmate for middle school, the trumpeter Reina. So the band of theirs that they start forming is definitely something of a motley crew, and they're largely in disarray. To say that they have trouble getting on even like a stage for like a local venue is a gross understatement.
Oh boy.
So then they get this new advisor, Mr. Taki, and he has a long history of musical instruction, both with himself, his father before him, and whatnot. And he has the ambition to guide the band to nationals and make a name for himself, the students, and the school. And that is the more or less the basic, broad overview of the story in Sound Euphonium.
So those were a lot of characters you mentioned. Are you introduced?
There's many more later on as well, so I'm glossing over.
Because I assume they're competing with other bands, right?
Yes.
And you're introduced to the members of those bands too as well, I guess.
To a much lesser extent. It's like, these people are from, such and such throwaway name high school. There's one, and it's kind of like, just, again, a sort of a throwaway detail that one of Kumiko's old friends attends a different high school and is also in that school's band, and they have like a short interaction with each other.
Ah, okay. Do you get introduced to the main band members all in the first episode? Because that sounds a bit like overkill.
They trickle it in.
Okay, that's good. Smart choice.
Because yes, I agree. If they did it all at once, it'd be like, slow down. Please slow down.
And there are shows that do that, so that's why I was asking. It's overwhelming.
And there are shows that are inordinately difficult to follow because of it.
Yes.
Yeah, so the show is not the latest, but the second most recent work by Kyoto Animation. The story was. Oh,
Was
sorry.
there was there another show they did between the first and second season of Sound Euphonium, or?
Yes, between the first and second seasons was Myriad Colors Phantom World, and oh boy, was that a thing. I believe we talked a little bit about that at one point.
Yes. Not
Oh boy.
not their strongest outing, I believe.
Yeah, because I was like, oh, this looks like it'll just be like Kyokai no Kanata 2.0. No, it wasn't.
Okay.
It felt like it was written by a 13-year-old with the amount of fan service that was in it.
Mm-hmm. And not creative fan service, I assume.
No.
Like in another show we'll talk about later. But let's get back to Sound Euphonium.
Yeah, Sound Euphonium, KyoAni, like you said, originally written by Ayano Takeda, which, as far as I could find, is her one big work to date. Pretty much can run down the line of a lot of the production staff that it's mostly a KyoAni in-house production. So if you're looking at like the directors' names like Naoko Yamada and Tatsuya Ishihara, they've done work on stuff like Amagi Brilliant Park, Clannad, K-On! I have issues with K-On! Full Metal Panic, Lucky Star, Tamako Market, another show that I kind of step away from a bit.
Speaking of Full Metal Panic, I cannot wait for that show to return.
That is coming soon, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't
Summer
remember.
or fall?
I think fall. Though I don't know. Is KyoAni working on that? Actually,
No, it's
on the
Zebek.
new one. Oh, okay, all right. Well, we'll get to Zebek later as well.
Oh boy.
Anyway, continue, please.
A lot of like the composition and whatnot was done by Juki Hanada, who has worked on shows again like K-On!, Kantai Collection, Love Live, Abenobashi, which is, I don't think we've mentioned that show in any context yet.
No.
And the music, which is pretty much one of the most important parts of shows, was composed by Akito Matsuda, and it's fantastic.
All right.
Because in a show about, a high school band, you would hope that would be one of the larger focuses, and it is, of course. And the pieces that were written for the show and that are performed, several times are just really, really incredible.
I assume the musical performances themselves are also like a highlight of the show.
Yes, let's talk about that real quick. So I get the feeling that KyoAni broke their budget several times making this show, because especially during the episodes, during like the actual performances, because the amount of animation and care put into like you see the characters moving their hands on like the instruments and on like the brass instruments like the valves of the trumpets, and on the woodwinds like the flutes and the saxophones hitting all of the buttons, just like the way they should be, and it's incredible. It's a visual delight during the performances. I mean, I'm trying to think what my favorite animated part of it, because during like the concert competitions and then like at the other various points, it's just, I feel like those were the points where I was just like most enthralled with the presentation, because when you get right down to it, it's like porno for musical instruments, because they all look so amazingly presented.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's great that they put a lot of care into the details. Like, because if this is geared towards people who, have some experience with that subject matter and everything, they will look for stuff like that, and they will look for the details in that aspect of the show. So I think, I don't know, do you know if any of the show's producer have like a history or a background in that kind of music stuff, and maybe that's how they managed to put so much care into it?
I mean, I wasn't able to really dig anything up on that, but I would certainly assume so, or that they at least did a requisite amount of research on it.
Another show I remember that has like great I don't know great effort put into the animation for its musical performances. Kids on the Slope. That Shinichiro Watanabe show about young jazz musicians, and there's some parts in that show, especially I remember a drum solo in one scene that looked so amazingly real and is so well animated. If a lot of care is put into those kinds of moments in the show, it can really elevate it. And I'm glad to hear that Sound Euphonium managed to do that as well regarding the subject matter.
That is a show that to this day I haven't watched and I would like to. Kids on the Slope.
It's not flawless. Wasn't so fond of the ending, especially in the anime. If the manga does it a bit better, in my opinion. But yeah, there are a lot of good parts in that show, and especially the musical bits, like I said.
Sounds like then it has more than one thing in common with Sound Euphonium.
Okay, interesting.
Before we get to that, though, I feel like I should lay out on the table that I felt like I was able to make a personal connection to this show because from 5th grade all the way up to my freshman year of high school, I was a band kid myself.
All right. What instrument did you play?
I wanted so badly to play the saxophone, but that first year when I was in band in 5th grade, there was first off, the band instructor was a real piece of work. And she was like, we have too many saxophones. You could just play the trumpet instead. So I played the trumpet for a year. And then over the summer, I started taking saxophone lessons. So from 6th to 9th grade, I was a saxophonist. I would venture to say in hindsight that I was better at the trumpet than I was the sax, most because on the saxophone there's about 11 keys you got to hit and know when and how to hit them to get the sound you want, whereas with a trumpet it's just depending on how hard you blow and the 3 valves. So I got to, like I said, the freshman year of high school, and then I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So that was the end of it for me. I didn't go to any real big competitions. I tried out for jazz band. That didn't work out. But I was able to connect again on a different thing in the series, because there is a series of episodes where they're training for and then they go do a marching band thing, and that's not easy. I would venture to say it is also not fun, because number one, you're basically playing music from memory while you're trying to march in time with everyone else. I don't have fond memories of trying to do that.
That's sad to hear. But apparently you still kept some love in your heart for those activities, because you said Sound Euphonium resonated with you.
Yeah, because I was able to look at it and be like, oh, this is a struggle that I know very well. I guess
do you think that this is a weirdly a psychological angle that I shouldn't tackle because I'm not qualified to do that? But did you think the show gave you some, I wouldn't call it closure, but do you think the show gave you some experience of success, or made you experience some form of success through the characters that you maybe didn't get while doing those activities yourself, and made you thus enjoy it more?
That I was able to live vicariously through them?
Yeah, a bit. Yeah, like give you a bit of emotional, I don't know, comeuppance or something via the characters and the story, just because you could connect the experience in that show so well to your past experience.
I mean, in a way, yes, because they were much more successful at what they were trying to do than I could ever have hoped to be.
Okay.
But yeah, just seeing it play out differently in a way that I sort of had it in my head when I was a kid was, a bit, I don't know if cathartic is the right word, maybe. But yeah, yes, we can go back to the word vicarious. I think that works best. Like I said, the overarching narrative is trying to get to nationals and be the best in Japan. The other parts of the narratives are basically are smaller character arcs. And one of the things that they kind of point out is how cliquey it can be to be a band kid. And how, you are playing X instrument, you're part of, this section.
Oh, okay.
And how, you're probably gonna get closer and more tightly knit with your, fellow seam instrumentalists.
Oh, okay, because there's so many members in the band, you have your little factions who are competing a bit against each other or something?
I mean, I don't know so much about competing, but just that you're probably gonna have a lot more camaraderie with people who play the same instrument as you.
So is there like any? Okay, we are, our instruments are more difficult to play, like you said, with the saxophone and the trumpet. So our part is more important, and we are superior to your section. Do you get stuff like that, or?
Yeah, there's a little bit where different characters, you see them where they need a lot more practice when they have a more complicated instrument to play. Comes in particularly with at one point the flutes, and at another point with the baritone saxophone.
Okay.
Which, if you're familiar with that, is a very large instrument.
Okay.
And it hits it's designed to hit much lower notes than, like, say, an alto sax or a soprano sax.
But you don't have characters outright declaring that, I don't know,
you don't
above you or something.
Yeah, you don't have like the trombonist saying to the to the percussion section, "Hey man, fuck you, we're so much better." No, there's none of that.
Okay, all right. So, generally, I mean, what is the tone of that show? Is it like, hey, buddy, happy band party, or are there some more serious notes in the show?
There's some more serious stuff, because at one point there's this plot point where they talk about how there was like this mass exodus of the second years during I think it was either like the year before or the year before that. And one of the girls starts showing her face a lot more often, and it doesn't really set well with some of the others. And they kind of have to figure out, why did you do this? Why are you showing yourself now, sort of thing. So that it becomes a point of contention. But yeah, the other big story thing is the sub-character arcs, like Asuka, as I mentioned earlier. She is, again, one of the fellow euphonists, and her... that might be a spoiler to say outright, but there's someone that she knows who is a famous euphonist, and she's trying to do what she can to live up to that.
I'm just assuming it's a family member or something.
Well, it may or may not be. Maybe you should watch Sound Euphonium and find out. Reina, like I said, was one of Kumiko's friends in middle school, who was very put off with how poorly their class did in middle school, and she's looking to really improve herself and get better. And it's also kind of revealed early on that she is kind of hot for teacher, and it's a weird angle, and it doesn't really set well at first.
But does it go anywhere, or is it just like a constant tease?
I would say it goes somewhere, but not where you think.
All right. Okay.
It has an interesting sort of resolution.
Well, at least it has a resolution.
Yeah, kind of. But speaking of resolutions, um, I have to dance around spoilers again. I don't know how I feel about the end of the show.
Well, is there an actual ending, or is it like very
There is, but it just doesn't resolve the way I thought it would.
in regards to some of the characters, or in regards to the competition, or
To both of those things.
okay? Would you so? Was it just okay? I didn't expect this. This is kind of weird, but it's still okay. Or was it like a legit disappointment how the show wrapped up for you? Like,
I mean, I would say it was like slight disappointment, but not because of the story beats, but more because of empathizing with the characters.
okay,
And then the other part of it, just something played out a little more differently than I thought it would. I'm not going to go, again, I'm going to try and avoid spoilers, but there's no really dancing around that there is a lot of lesbian subtext.
mm-hmm. So I've heard.
Which, again, nothing wrong with that, but that's one of the things that doesn't play out quite the way I thought it would.
I assume, judging from our comments last week when I complained about Yuri on Ice not committing to, its relationships, I assume this is also maybe the case here.
It kind of takes not really a weird left turn, but kind of like a slight left turn the way I wasn't expecting.
Okay, so I assume they're teasing a lot in a certain way in the show, and then just go a completely other route in the regards of that relationship or something, or several relationships.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, all right. And you didn't like the way it was going.
I don't know if I say I wouldn't like it, but I didn't expect it.
Okay. Is the story generally? Is there a lot of character development? Is the show like heavy on the plot, or is it just okay? We're gonna get better at our instruments and then play in the competitions, and some romance might or might not happen, and that's it? Or, do we have some, I don't know, character background drama? You alluded to some of that with one of the characters having ties to another euphonist and stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean, there is more character development and like other arcs that I'm sort of really glossing over because otherwise we could talk about this all damn day. But yeah, there is depth to the cast.
That's good. I mean, it needs to have, otherwise it wouldn't be so popular, I assume. And I think it's one of KyoAni's most popular shows, isn't it?
Yes, and I mean, I guess with that characterization, you could say that the show would be pretty flat.
All right, easy there. Anyway, you said you didn't like KyoAni, which is also a show about girls getting together and making music. So what does Sound Euphonium do better than KyoAni, and what was your general problem with KyoAni?
KyoAni was the whole cute girls doing cute things sort of thing, and then they just kind of sort of decided, hey, let's play music, and I was like, okay, all right. Was the impetus for this anything other than, oh, I kind of feel like doing this sort of thing, whereas with Sound Euphonium, it feels like it's grounded in something that has a larger implication, like, the competitions and whatnot. Whereas, like, I mean, I guess I don't know in large part the story to KyoAni because, like I said, I dropped it pretty early on. But I think there was something about them either like going to England or going on tour or something. I remember there was a pretty iconic scene or illustration of them, trying to make it out like the Beatles with them crossing Abbey Road, but that's just one of those things. It's like, all right, so I see what you're doing there. Whatever, fine. I don't know. KyoAni just didn't really get with me the way Euphonium did. I think just because it was a more familiar and identifiable premise for me, having been a proper band kid, not, hey, I feel like picking up an instrument today sort of story.
A more dedicated approach to, its premise than KyoAni did. I can totally understand that. Shortly returning to the characters, do you have like a favorite or something? Or are they like equally interesting to you?
I feel
is there a character you like connect to the most because of your band experience or something? Not necessarily because of the instrument, but you're like, okay, this is something I experienced. That what that character is going through, what that character is experiencing. I remember that myself. So
honestly, I feel like I really got on the level with Kumiko a lot, just because she had her falling out as being a band kid, and that she wanted to try a different instrument, and that she kind of fell back on what she knew. So I kind of feel like that I understood her problems a lot better than some of the other characters.
So is the show definitely over? Might there be another season? What's the word on that?
As far as I knew, this was pretty much the end.
Well, shame to hear then that you're not, 100% happy with how it wrapped up.
As the only thing I know is that there are movies, but they're just like recaps.
So is this, still disregarding the ending, is this your favorite KyoAni show now, or would you say there's something that's ranked equally or higher?
There's a KyoAni show now that I think comes pretty close too, but putting that out of mind, I do think this is probably the top of the heap for KyoAni. Because for a while, Kyokai no Kanata was up there, so I would say that's a close second place. Words.
Well, mine is free. Full disclosure. But like you said, the show that's currently running might actually catch up to that because I'm enjoying that a lot. Really, really a lot. Anyway, if someone wasn't a band kid, who is this for, in your opinion? Like, who would enjoy Sound Euphonium?
Obviously it is. I feel like it is for, musicians and band kids and whatnot, probably first and foremost. But beyond that, if you're looking for a pretty solidly written slice of life story, this is a good place to go for it.
So, welcome to the Trash Stash ?
Oh, come on.
Yeah, the question mark is like I'm serious about that.
How many question marks?
All of them. Just
8, you would say?
Yeah,
because
possibly.
That is how many pieces of punctuation there are in the title of this series we're about to talk about.
But John, do you know why there are exactly 8 exclamation marks in the title of this show in Keijo?
Because if you take an 8 and you turn it sideways, it looks like a butter boobs.
Exactly. Audience, your mind just got blown. You're welcome. Anyway, how does that relate to the show we're gonna talk about today? I know, a second review. Well, in case you haven't heard about the premise or haven't seen any of the many GIFs on the internet resulting from this 13-episode show or 12 episodes, I don't remember. To the gamers in our audience, have you ever played the minigame in Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball? You already know where I'm going with this. If not, there are 2 girls in that minigame who stand on a platform floating in a pool. and they try to shove each other into the water by using their butts. Well, in the world of Keijo, someone saw that shit and thought, hey, let's turn this into a legit gambling sport.
Yeah.
They're also using their boobs in the show as well, not only their butts. And if you think that premise is already way too ridiculous, you have seen nothing yet. Let me promise you that. The show goes places. Anyway, so in regards to the story, what little there is of it. So our main protagonist is a girl named Nozomi Kaminashi, and she loves Keijo. She has dreamed getting into it and becoming a professional Keijo player since childhood, I believe. Or was it since high school? I don't remember, but yeah. Anyway, I mean, high school is still childhood technically. Whatever. So after high school, she decides to enroll in a special Keijo training boarding school to eventually become the best Keijo fighter in the business. The pros in Keijo sport are called so-called prize queens. And they earn a shitload of money, by doing what they do, and that's what Nozomi wants to do, and that's what she wants to become. Has a lot of enthusiasm for it, and naturally, it's not as easy as she imagined it to be. Even if she is kind of talented and has like this well-balanced physique, and was a gymnast before this.
Well, it was either that, or I remember there was, she was getting constantly approached to be a gymnast.
Yeah, something like that. She has talent for that. Let's say that. But her heart is with Keijo, and that's what she wants to do, and that's what she's trying to do. So she enrolls in that special training school. But quickly, realizes she has a long road ahead of her. But helping her on her way are a lot of new friends she meets, namely her roommates, her 3 roommates she's grouped with, and other first opponents, then turning to friends in that school, and later on there's a bigger tournament that the show wraps up with, and lot of stuff in her way to becoming an actual prize queen, and that's what the show is about. And it's based on a manga by Daichi Sorayomi. And that manga was started in 2013 and is still running, apparently. So maybe we'll get a second season, hopefully, probably.
We can only hope.
Yes.
Pray to the anime gods.
And like we alluded to earlier, this show is animated by Zebek, who seem to be one of the go-to studios for in-between animation. They have worked on a shitload of in-between animation stuff. Wow. Recently, Ushio and Tora, Fate Stay Night, Unlimited Blade Works TV show, Kuroko's Basketball, to name only a few. But also all those stuff like, slightly older, like Gundam 00 or the Cowboy Bebop movie. I remember them mostly just in terms of seeing the title in the beginning, in the opening credits and everything, from doing the animation for the Mega Man Battle Network show. And the Mega Man, and the Mega Man Star Force anime as well. And, budget on that show, on those shows were, here and there.
I think they worked a bit on Zoids as well, didn't they? Or at least one of the crew who worked on Keijo worked on Zoids, I believe.
Might as well, yes. I don't know because I didn't watch Zoids, but I remember them from Rockman X and Ryusen and Rockman, and especially in Star Force, Mega Man Star Force, Battle Network Star Force, or whatever it was called, Mega Man Star Force, right? What's the English title of those games?
Yes.
Yeah, whatever. Ryusen and Rockman.
There you go.
And I remember the animation of that being actually pretty good, surprisingly, because from the shows I've watched from them, or that I remember them from, was always like, okay, there are some episodes that look good, but most of this is like, okay, this is definitely a TV anime budget, and you can see it everywhere. But there's some solid stuff here and there in certain episodes. So
I think when they got around to doing Ryusei, actually slightly before that, during Rockman X Beast Plus, that was when they actually changed the format of the show to be half episodes. So I don't know if that helped them out.
Yeah, maybe. but yeah, they remind me a bit of A1 in terms of, hey, they can put out really solid work if they save their budget for most of their episode run, or the show is not Sword Art Online,
Yeah.
The show you recently
Working.
reviewed. Yeah, Working. So there you go. Not as they don't have as many breakout hits as A1 has, but in terms just of production values and everything, they remind me a bit of them. So there you go. Keijo is directed by Hideya Takahashi, who worked as an episode director on Buso Rankin, another Zebek show I remember watching and liking.
I don't think I watched that show beginning to end, but I'm pretty sure I actually have it on DVD somewhere.
It's kind of a shame that the show only had one season because the manga goes further, and it's by the same guy who did Rurouni Kenshin.
Oh yeah.
There's also a show I really liked, really cool shonen show. At least in the middle part. The beginning and ending were not that strong, but Kyoto arc is really good in Rurouni Kenshin and still holds up in my opinion. And yeah, that's why I want to check out Buso Rankin. And I have the manga here. Still haven't read it to completion for some reason. I don't know. I should get to that. But yeah, I enjoyed the show of that for what it was. But it wrapped up before it didn't put the whole story in the anime, which was kind of a shame. But it was fun while it lasted. But that show also was a mixed bag in terms of production values. Had a great opening though, cool song and everything. I like that a lot.
I vividly remember the intros. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Check that out if you have the chance, on YouTube or something. I think I'm going to watch it after we're done with this recording again. Yeah, it's one of my all-time favorites, just because of the song. Pretty great. Takahashi also worked on the Rockman X movie, Yamino Program, or what it was called.
Oh, I forgot there was a movie.
I really liked that movie.
And I watched it a long time ago, but I'm only just now remembering that it was a thing from you talking about it.
Yeah, it was surprisingly well animated and really enjoyable. If you stuck with the series long enough or the games, otherwise it's probably just gibberish. But yeah, I enjoyed that movie. It was a fun little action thing. He also worked as an episode director on Sword Art Online and on the Pokemon Origins OVA special thing. So yeah, did some stuffs, not super big things, or at least a lot of the stuff from his resume I have not seen or don't remember. So yeah, that's the stuff that's stuck out to me. And yeah, this show looks much better than it should.
Yes, it does. I remember saying that too. I was like, "Why is this way better animated than it has any right to be?"
Exactly. I mean, there are some shortcuts in places, when it doesn't have to look good, but when it matters, and during the fights, it looks, the fights look fast. The special moves, yes, there are special moves in the show. Look powerful and exciting and are creative and everything. And overall, considering the silly premise, I expected this to be like another shoddily, badly animated, lazy fan service vehicle, like for example, Ikitosen, which is a really subpar, badly animated, lame-looking show.
Yeah, I tried getting into that once upon a time, and I was like, this. Even before I was really, trying to get into the medium, I was like, this looks really bad.
Yeah, I watched like the entire first season of that, and poof. Well, I don't know why I did that. That show is garbage. Super garbage.
And there were, 3 or 4 series that came after, which makes me wonder if the quality even got any better.
No. I've seen clips. It didn't. Oof. The power of fan service. You can still sell figures with that, and apparently it's all that show needs.
Look, it's okay, because the Ikitosen girls are in Senran Kagura now. So have fun with that.
Yeah, and because... whatever. And, because I remember that show and some other fan service shows, the possibly biggest surprise Keijo brought to the table for me was this isn't that this, it being not lazy isn't only limited to the animation aspect of that show. I really, really enjoyed Keijo, much more than I expected to. So, I don't know, how did you approach this show? I mean, you've probably seen, like, the first visual key artwork and everything, and you've seen the trailer, and were you like, oh yeah, this is something that's gonna be awesome for all its episode runtime, I'm gonna check this out, or what was your attitude towards it?
I remember perusing Anna chart to see what was coming up for that season, and I saw that on there. I was like, what is this? And I clicked through and I watched the PV, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be a spectacle. And I went into the first episode thinking, okay, so this is probably not going to be that great. It's going to be whatever. And, a few episodes later, I was like, this is way better than it has any right to be.
Yes, exactly. So I went into this prepared to watch like one episode, laugh at it, and be like, okay, that's as dumb and silly as I expected, and don't get me wrong, it is exactly that, and be done with it. But okay, this show makes no beef about what it is. You just need to watch the opening, and you know what it's about and where it's going. There are lots of boobs and butts thrown in your face, and that's gonna persist throughout all of the show's runtime. Just be aware of that. And I'm not making any qualm about that. The show isn't either. That's what you get. But I expected this to be lazy fan service material, but it kind of isn't. They could have just had like an Ikitos and the girls fight each other, their swimming suits getting torn up in every match, and let them be the extent of the fan service. But they actually took, the ridiculous premise of turning your tits and asses into actual weapons and just fucking ran with it. They just fucking took that train and ran it straight out of the station and into the skies and to the next solar system. And not against the wall. And that's the important part. Like, okay, let's get into the details here. The girls go to rigorous training to strengthen their bodies. Everyone has like a special set of skills. For example, like Sayaka Miyata is really fast. Nozomi, our main character, has like this really strong, super powerful special move called the, I believe, vacuum butt cannon.
Yes.
No, she doesn't fart her opponents into oblivion, though that would have been amazing. No, it's like she has like this super powerful, I don't know, she does the super powerful movement, fast, strong movement with her butt, and it's like it creates this pressure wave, like, I don't know, Hadouken or something that just blasts her opponent away. Yes, it's as ridiculous and dumb as it sounds, but it's amazing. Just take it from me. Yeah, speaking of special moves, there are a lot of those in this show. Like, this is a legit fighting anime in that regard. It's like anything you would see in a shonen fighting anime. Like I said, Nozomi has her butt cannon. Mio Kusakai can hypnotize people with her boobs, if I remember correctly. Though that it turns out to be an illegal move, so she gets punished for that. And Kotonoe Fujisaki can turn her butt to auto-attack, I think.
Yeah, it was something like that, like an automatic counter.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, she calls it Cerberus or something, and it looks like her butt is moving on her own, on its own, and attacking people, and gets like this weird dog face on it. It's ridiculous. And she also did a shoryuken with her boobs at some point in this show.
And they called it shoryukens.
Yeah, big props to the translators calling it that. Like 10 out of 10, A+. Fantastic job, thank you very much. Get all the money for that. And there's so many more Every new one more ridiculous than the last one. It's amazing. I love that aspect of the show. It spoke to me as a fighting game fan and a shonen fighting anime fan on a deeper level. I was like, okay, they put some effort into this. They put some thought into this. This matters to me. Thank you.
So when our arc system works, gonna make a Keijo fighting game.
Dude, I'd be so in. Day one. Day one. Yeah, this feels like a legit sports/fighting anime where the creator of the manga put some actual thought into the mechanics of a super dumb idea. It reminds me a lot of Food Wars in that regard, because that has also like characteristics of a fighting or sports anime in it, with how, the competitions work out and everything, and how ridiculous the moves are portrayed and animated and everything, the presentation and everything. And, surprises, and here's a twist to this dish and everything. So yeah, Keijo reminded me a lot of Food Wars. Also, a lot of fan service in that show, a lot of fan service in this show, but in both cases, not lazy fan service. Some really thought in how they use that and how they make, that work in regards with the show, and not just be there for the sake of it, but hey, we got this ridiculous fan servicey premise, let's go with that. Let's do something like that. Let's work it into the show so that it makes sense and actually helps to move the story along in certain parts. So yeah, cool stuff in my opinion. And if you like Food Wars, this is already maybe enough incentive for you if you're not just a foodie and was like, okay, this is why I watch Food Wars. But if you enjoyed Food Wars and like, okay, what's something that maybe is in the same wheelhouse? I think Keijo is. I think Keijo kind of plays in the same ballpark as Food Wars does, just in terms of entertainment and how the show is structured and everything. So yeah. Again, going back to the fan service aspect, there's also a case where something that might have been like a throwaway fan service moment in another show is used for a plot reveal kind of later on in the show. You know what I'm talking about. It relates to one of the characters, Kazane Aoba's special ability.
Yeah.
Which is also hilarious. And also a great reference to a character from Fate's Stay Night. Maybe people have seen a gif of that and didn't know what to make of it, but yeah.
I mean, it is in the intro sequence, but you don't find out what it is until later on.
Yeah, and it's ludicrous and amazing again. That's a constant thing in the show. So yeah, I like the fights. I like that actual effort was put into the fan service aspect, but surprisingly, I also like the story and the characters a lot. Yes, it's pretty much your, standard sports anime story of, a newbie rising to the top. With this, kind of formerly strong training school, but now being the underdogs because they haven't won in a while and everything. That's the same thing they did with Haikyuu. And it's in this show as well. So this is familiar grounds. But, just like in Haikyuu, for example, most of the characters are really sympathetic. And it's fun to hang out with them. It's fun to see them, poke jokes at each other. It's fun to see them succeed, advance in their training, and win the fights. And, if you don't care about the characters, the super ridiculous drama and the action in the fights doesn't matter as much. It doesn't, you don't engage with it as much because, this looks fun and cool, but I don't care about the characters. Not the case with this show. At least not for me. I don't know how you felt about it, but yes, the characters are not, super deep or anything, but they were like, hey, these are nice, kind of relatable girls, disregarding that they're going into this kind of sport. But yeah, it's like, yeah, it's fun to see these characters interact with each other, and it's nice to see them, succeed, and it's sad to see them, fail and everything. So I guess the show did some good work in the character department in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much any show. I feel like characters are they're what drives the story. And if you don't care what they're doing, then why bother watching?
Yeah, but in some shows that doesn't work because, you don't care about the characters. And I feel like Keijo, for all of it being a fan service vehicle, I cared about if the characters were succeeding, if the characters were winning.
Right.
And that was a surprise to me. I didn't expect that to happen. Like I said, I did expect this to be like this one note joke show that I would watch for one episode and, don't care about the characters at all. But I cared about their personal stories. I didn't see that coming at all. I mean, there's some that are better than others. Like I said, Nozomi is your standard story. Okay, I want to become the best Keijo player, whatevs. And I have to struggle for that and everything. But, best story in that show is Miyata's, in my opinion. Because she has like this nice setup of her parents not approving of her career choice, understandably. She was supposed to take over like her father's judo dojo, or at least, go into that kind of sport. And, he totally doesn't approve. And it's kind of dragging her down emotionally. And, the show kind of makes you care for it and feel for her. And like, okay, this is a bummer. Everyone knows the feeling of disappointing your parents. That I assume that has happened to anyone at a certain point in their life. And, even, for some people, for different reasons, but maybe for some of you, for like, okay, I want to do, go my own way, and maybe my parents don't like that and don't approve of that for some reason because they don't understand why this matters to me. And this is the same thing in this, in Miyata's story. And the emotional conclusion to that arc is really satisfying, because it's relatable, in my opinion. It also it helps that it comes at the end of one of the show's best fights. So there's that. That was awesome.
Definitely.
It was ridiculous, especially that finishing move. It was great. I also loved Judo Dad's reaction to seeing Keijo for the first time. Just totally flabbergasted and nonplussed and exclaiming, "What is this dumb, ridiculous nonsense?" Like,
it's like he's an avatar for the audience.
Yeah. He's the proxy for the non-anime audience, or for anyone seeing anything from the show for the first time. It's a great bit of self-awareness, and that's the thing that happens throughout all of Keijo. It's like,
I feel like it takes itself seriously enough.
Yes, exactly. Like, it doesn't take its premise seriously. It pokes a lot of fun at it, throughout the whole show. Like, there are a lot of jabs at, this is dumb. Like, look at this. This is ridiculous. This is stupid. Like, how could you take this seriously? But the characters in that show take Keijo seriously. And the emotional core of the show is so earnest about its characters loving what they do and participating in this sport being, their life goal and everything, that you can't help but feel for them and root for them. So it's like, the show is telling you this is dumb, and please, we know it's dumb. Don't take this too seriously. But hey, these characters, in the context of the show and in the universe of the show, take this sport seriously. It matters to them, and that's why it matters. If you like those characters, it matters to you, the audience. And I didn't expect that to work, just because the premise is so ridiculous, but it did. I don't know why. Just because maybe it's just done so well, but it worked for me. I was like, okay, this is dumb shit, but I care for it. And so I know I criticized Yuri on Ice for, not being what I look for in sports anime, and I've probably made a complete fool out of myself for praising Keijo in that regard.
Well, because there is, an actual focus on it, showing them training and actually putting it to use. As far as it sounded like with Yuri on Ice, it was just, here, you do this once, and then, suddenly you're doing, the competition thing.
Well, there is training in Yuri on Ice as well, but like I said, the focus is more on the romance, and that's not the show's necessarily show's fault. But the sports aspect of Keijo is much more simpler, just in terms of who is succeeding and who is performing well than it was in Yuri on Ice. Like I said, it was, because I don't know much about ice skating, was difficult for me to determine in Yuri on Ice just from the performance alone how the characters were faring in the competition. Also, because it's not a direct competition. Not so in Keijo, it's a simple, dumb fighting thing, like just characters hitting each other with butts and boobs, and whoever falls into the water loses. There, you know. You
have you have it there, just all out on the table. You understand it. It's simple.
It's not difficult to see what's happening. It's not difficult to determine what, who's coming out on top and everything. So yeah, of course that works for Keijo, in the favor of Keijo. But I also feel like even if it didn't have that, Yuri on Ice could have done a better job at, establishing and explaining and, making the sports aspect of the show more relatable. And not like, okay, I'm already a fan of ice skating, so I can relate to this show. If you're not a fan of ice skating, in my opinion, it was a bit more difficult to relate to Yuri on Ice. But again, like I said, it wasn't the focus when the sport itself maybe wasn't as much the focus as I expected it to be. And that was maybe my fault. I don't know. But yeah, in Keijo, it's like you said, it's all on the table. It's all there. This is the focus. This is like, the characters want to get better at it. There is no romance on the side of it. It's just about this stuff and the characters participating in the sport, and that's all that matters. And, the focus is on the main 4 characters for the most time, and the others, they are in there, but, they don't try to establish them too much or give them depth or anything. So, what you see is what you get. And I don't know. It feels, in that regard, felt very focused to me, and I like focus in my shows. Like, I don't mind meandering in certain parts, but when it's like, okay, now we're gonna explore this and now today this, I don't respond to that as well. At least when it comes to certain genres, and sports anime, fighting anime is one of those genres. I want this stuff to be focused on specific parts, and those parts work really well. And I guess Keijo did for me. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, having that focus certainly helps to keep your attention.
Yeah. The sports angle or the fighting angle in the show works really well. I think it's thought out, and there's some effort put into it where it didn't expect it to be. It didn't need to be. It's dumb. It's simple. It's ridiculous, but it just works. I don't know. The fights are exciting in my opinion. It's weirdly creative. It's emotional in certain parts and just plain fun. It's a dumb, fun show. I don't know. What was your favorite part about it?
I mean, obviously, the fights were pretty much the highlight, and as ridiculous as they were, because it is a ridiculous premise to begin with, but that's what makes it fun, because it is energetic, it is wild, it's a very kinetic show where I don't know how to very concretely describe it beyond that, just because you've said a lot of the same stuff. It makes no bones about what it is. When you get down to the actual meat and potatoes, it's all right there. You can watch it and understand it instantly.
Yes, exactly. And that is the case for a lot of other shows that are not good, because they're so simple, but they don't do anything with it. And I think Keijo did. Maybe that's why I enjoyed it so much, because it's like, okay, this should be dumb. I mean, it is. But this should also be like not that fun. Like, this should be, for all intents and purposes, this should be, from what you've seen from that kind of premise before, this should be stupid and lame and not well animated and with boring characters that are not sympathetic, that you don't care for. And Keijo was none of that. Yeah, and maybe that's what
it should be schlocky, but
yeah, exactly. And it's like, maybe again, going with expectations, this is why that show rated so high for me, because I expecting something else, but something much worse this time around. And then I got something much better than I expected. I was like, okay, wow, okay. I didn't expect it to like that much. So maybe that's why I, have such fond feelings for this show. Also, like, because I've seen so many fighting, shonen fighting anime and sports anime. It's like, okay, you've seen a lot of this stuff. Okay, I often get that feeling. I have seen, this moment and this moment. And even Keijo has some of those moments. Just because the premise is so fucking stupid, I haven't seen something like that done in that genre yet. Just, from the premise alone. And that's why I constantly had something, okay, this is something new, mixed in with something familiar. And that's cool. Like, that is, okay, this is something different. This is something I like, and I've, liked for a long time, but it's still something different.
Yeah,
and maybe that's why it resonated with me.
It's hard to be unique nowadays, but, it's just that weird marriage of these several familiar things in a way you wouldn't expect to work.
Yeah, that's probably the most, I don't know, the takeaway from this, and we were both surprised that it worked. That it, for some reason, was fun, and that we had fun with it, and a lot of other people enjoyed it too. And I think whoever, the people who gave it a chance and watched it for a while and were into that kind of genre, actually enjoyed it a lot. I've heard a lot of positive feedback on, or read a lot of positive voices on Keijo. I don't know if it was unironically, but like I am right now. But a lot of people were like, yeah, I enjoyed that shit. Yeah. So to wrap this up, if you like fighting anime or sports anime and don't mind a lot of TNA in your series, go and watch it. Yes, it's super fast food. It's nothing that makes you think in any way. Not remotely. No. But don't even expect it to. But yeah, it's like, it's dumb, enjoyable fast food. I had a lot of fun with it, and I honestly don't believe it belongs in our trash stash. I wanted to put there. I was going into it thinking, oh yeah, this is gonna be a trash stash show. If I watch it all the way through, I'm gonna tear this shit apart and make fun of it all the time. And now I'm sitting here wondering where my taste went. And I'm like, okay, no, I legit, I like the show. Really, I do. I mean, considering the setup, I got so much more out of it than I expected, and I think it's a legit good show. Incredibly silly, but good. And yeah, I love Keijo. And that is a wrap on the 26th episode of Anime Brain Freeze. All the music in our show is from the Double Dragon Neon soundtrack by the amazing Jake Kaufman. Please go to vit.bandcamp.com and check out his awesome work. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and animebrainfreeze.com. Leave us comments and questions anywhere you like, or send us an email to animebrainfreeze@gmail.com. We would love to read your feedback. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you had a good time, and please join us again on our next show. Macht's gut.
Take care, everybody.
Next time on Anime Brain Freeze.
We'll communicate with our fists to rekindle a lost friendship.
And we jump on our surfboards and dive into the purest of illusions.